Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we continue our ranking of traitor gene lines most needed by the Imperium. No real need for a spoiler warning today, so let's waste no time and just jump straight in. So, with the Imperium undergoing a big period of change at the moment, I found myself reassessing Belisarius Caul's use of traitor gene seed, and just what traitor gene lines could be most needed by the Imperium with a founding of Successor Chapters. How my thoughts on the subject may have changed to previously. And so, we are ranking them from least needed traitor gene line to most needed by the Imperium. The three main factors I see for the Imperium are the defense and stability of Imperium Sanctus, the arrival and fight back against Leviathan to the west, and 3. Guilliman's commencing reconquest of Imperium Nihilus. So far I've ranked the World Eaters in 9th, the Alpha Legion in 8th, and last time out the Death Guard in 7th. And so today now, the Night Lords in 6th. While I've probably surprised a few of you with how low some of the legions I've already ranked are, I've got a feeling I'll surprise a few of you with how high the Night Lords are here, even if they are still within the bottom half. And I'll admit, it's hard not to love the Midnight Clad if you've read the Night Lords trilogy. It's absolutely awesome. So maybe you could argue I have been swayed somewhat. However, the more I thought about the Night Lords, the more I kind of came to the realization that their downfall was firmly rooted in Nostramo, the life of their Primarch, and not the bloodline itself. And for all their comparisons to, say, the Raven Guard, the Night Lords are actually a very unique legion who performed a very unique role. One it's arguable the Imperium lacks completely right now. The 8th Legion's earliest history and life before their Primarch is one of the least known in my opinion. What we do know is that the Emperor clearly created them with a very specific intent. Their recruiting base was the vast prison depths of Terra, a populace condemned to live the rest of their lives in total darkness, never again to see the light of their world, where life was spent at the edge of a blade. Think Necromunda turned up to max, and a prison. And it was from the children of these prisoners the 8th Legion was formed. Combined with their Primarch's gene seed, these white-faced legionaries could see through any shadow, could move without making a sound, and kill instinctively. The very first operation of the Legion, long before their reunion with Conrad, is perhaps the perfect example of the Emperor's intent. The Sargon Enclave, already a conquered and declared loyal order, defied the Emperor by continuing their gene experiments in secret. Once revealed, it was to the 8th Legion the Emperor turned. And this was not to just force the Enclave back into line. It was not just to stop them, but it was to make an example out of them. And that is the key for me. The Space Wolves are the Emperor's executioner, the anti-Legion security, if you will. The World Eaters were an annihilation, but the Night Lords were the Imperium's punishment. Not simply just for the act itself, but a warning to all others. This is what happens if you dare betray the Imperium, the Emperor. The 8th Legion were retribution, justice incarnate. Is it any wonder their Primarch was so consumed by those notions? The 8th Legion's role was absolute. They were quite simply the dark side to the Golden Great Crusade. For when there is light, there is always shadow. The 8th Legion's downfall wasn't its role. It was the madness of its Primarch, the insanity brought on by the visions of the heresy, the dark future he foresaw. It was Nostramo who flooded the Legion with murderers, who didn't fight for the Emperor's retribution, but for the act of murder itself. It wasn't the 8th Legion who betrayed the Imperium. It was the Night Lords they became. The original role of the Legion was specific, and one that went missing with its fall. So how does that come into play with the 3 main deciding factors? Well, let's take a look. The defense and stability of Imperium Sanctus. Honestly, given everything we've just discussed, the Night Lords could be the most important gene line missing and needed in this regard. Sure, any Astartes chapter can bring a world back into line. However, none are truly made to make an example out of it. None are made specifically with that in mind. A founding of Night Lord successors scattered throughout Imperium Sanctus could be the greatest way of securing loyalty throughout the Imperium. Because when you're beset by chaos, sometimes courage is not enough. Sometimes it's simply down to who you fear the most. The ruinous powers or the Emperor's wrath. And there's only one line that could instill fear in the Imperium more than the fear of chaos. Much like how I felt the Alpha Legion successors could be invaluable throughout Imperium Sanctus, the Night Lords absolutely are the same, and possibly even more so. For while the Alpha Legion could assassinate a rebel governor, seed informants throughout the galaxy, the mere notion of the Night Lords chapters out there could be enough. Whereas the Alpha Legion may take out that governor, the Night Lords would massacre his house, his rule, and ensure the system's powers know of it. They wouldn't just be the act of punishment, of revenge, as all the other chapters are. They would be the symbol of it. The warning to not even think about it. And no, that absolutely wouldn't fit into Guilliman's ideal of an Imperium, how he would like to maintain order. However, the simple truth is, it would be undoubtedly effective and needed. The Emperor would never have made them if it wasn't. Much is made of the Night Lord's ambush preference, their retreating and running away, lack of stomach for a fight. But in my opinion, you really shouldn't sell them short. The Raven Guard share similar battlefield preferences, and the warbands the Night Lords have become, the warbands you see within the Night Lords trilogy for example, are really a far cry from the Legion of old, the loyal chapters they would be if they were founded. The Night Lords Legion fought the famed First Legion, led by Lion L. Johnson himself, to a standstill for years, one of the most heralded battlefield commanders. The Night Lord's successors would be as capable as any chapter out there. They'd simply have their preferences, as all the lines and lineages do. Whatever the foe, the 8th Legion's descendants would rise to meet it. And that leads us to Factor 2, Leviathan. No, maybe Night Lord successors wouldn't be your pick for holding a world in face of a hive fleet. However, launching an ambush boarding assault, a surprise counterattack by a Soulblade fleet, I've got to say that sounds like their cup of tea to me. Okay, maybe their fear tactics don't come into play here, but again, let's not sell them short for their other attributes. If there's any chapters that could ambush the Tyranids, it's the descendants of Kurz or Korax. And when it comes to Guilliman's invasion across the Rift, well, I see advantages there too. Unlike the Alpha Legion, the Night Lord Successors wouldn't be dependent on infiltrating and information gathering. As such, the difficulties with warp travel wouldn't be as big a hindrance. Alone, the chapters would provide the Emperor's justice and retribution role to any world fallen they discovered, which in Guilliman's War of Attrition actually would work very well. Scaring the populace back into line, they'd suffer far less casualties than many of their Astartes kin, far less resource loss as well, which would absolutely benefit the Crusade. Among a Crusade force, they could provide the unseen ambush, the flanking attack or secret counter, working in cooperation with their more mainstay battle line cousins. So there's really, in my opinion, huge advantages to Night Lord Successors within every theatre. And I'll be honest, I'd absolutely love to see them. So that begs the question, why aren't they any higher? Well, it's inescapable that they, of all, don't fit Guilliman's view of the Imperium, the empire he wants it to be. And as great as they are at ambush assaults, and as much as I do feel they could perform as well as any other chapter, you have to admit there are other lines more suitable to the battlefield grind. More comfortable, shall we say. And the truth is, as we move into the top half of the ranking, each of the gene lines to come provide an ever greater advantage to the Imperium. So, it's not necessarily about what the Night Lord Successors don't do, but what others do. So for me, the Night Lord's line is one I think gets underrated, perhaps most likely due to the influences that befell the Legion. Of all the lines out there, their particular role within Imperium Sanctus could be a game changer, a necessary exercise into darkness, one that the Emperor always intended, a threat worse than chaos, a role of retribution that in truth fits the new brutal Dark Imperium quite well, and would provide a symbol of judgment against its own people that maybe none of the current Astartes provide. Something more akin to the Inquisition. I see their value against Leviathan, and within the crusade to reclaim Imperium Nihilus, yet while also accepting their style and preferences, for all its advantages, also represent their drawbacks. They do enough to be above the bottom three, but I just can't place them any higher. So, for me, the Sons of Kurz land in 6th place. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you agree with me about the advantages that the Sons of Kurz could bring to the current Imperium? Do you feel the role they could play within Imperium Sanctus could be invaluable in terms of loyalty? And do you feel of all the missing traitor lineages that maybe it's the Night Lords who left the biggest gap? Do you agree that they also have advantages when it comes to the war against Leviathan and within Nihilus, but that maybe it's the simple things, the bread and butter war of the Astartes, that's where they maybe lack? In representing such a unique role, should they actually be ranked higher? Or do you feel they still deserve a lower place? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again tomorrow as we continue our traitor ranking.